TOEFL iBT preparation course. Today we'll be focusing on the speaking questions. As you've probably noticed, inside your speaking folder there are a lot of great materials and videos on strategies for success. So please make sure you read the guide carefully so you don't miss anything. Let's get started. Here are the basics. Because the TOEFL iBT is for future undergraduate and graduate students, the speaking section will include topics that draw on personal experience, campus-based situations, and academic-type content material. The first speaking task will be the independent one. You will draw entirely on your own ideas and opinions and experiences while you're responding. The other 4 questions are integrated speaking tasks. In these tasks, you will listen to a conversation or an excerpt from a lecture, or you might read a passage and then listen to a brief discussion or lecture about that before you are given the question. You have to integrate skills. You will be asked to base your spoken response on the information that you heard or read. For speaking questions that involve listening, you will hear short lectures or conversations on headphones. For speaking questions that involve reading, you will read short written passages on your computer screen. Don't worry if this seems complicated. The narrator will guide you through, and you will also have instructions to read along the way. And remember, you can take notes throughout the speaking section and use your notes when responding to the speaking tasks. For each of the 6 questions, you will be given a short time to prepare your response. You will answer each of the questions into a microphone, and your responses will be recorded and sent to a scoring center. They will be scored by experienced raters, but make sure that you practice your timing. This is very, very important in the speaking section because you will be cut off if you go over the allotted time amount. So, of course, we need to talk about scoring. Make sure that you familiarize yourself with the writing scoring rubrics. It will help you understand how your responses will be evaluated. So look in your materials for the PDF labeled Speaking Scoring Rubric. This will help you and be your guide along the way. Your responses will be scored holistically. This means that the rater will listen for various features in your response and assign a single score based on the overall skill that you display in your answer. Although scoring criteria vary somewhat depending on the question or the task, the raters will generally be listening for one of the following features in your writing. First, delivery. And delivery is how clear your speech is. Good responses are those in which the speech is fluid and clear, with good pronunciation, natural pacing, and natural sounding intonation patterns. They will also be looking for your language use. So this is focused on how effectively you will use grammar and vocabulary to convey your ideas. Raters will be listening for how well you can control basic and complex language structures and use appropriate vocabulary. And the final thing is topic development. And this is how fully you answer the question and how coherently you present your ideas. Good responses generally use all or most of the time allotted. And the relationship between the ideas and the progression from one idea to another should be clear and easy to follow. So the first one will be your independent question 1. And this is speaking about a person, place, object, or even event that is familiar to you. You will describe and give reasons, and you can jot down notes, but you shouldn't write out your entire answer. You will have 45 seconds to speak your response. The topics for this question will vary, but remember, it will always be about personal experience. You might, for example, be asked about a place you like to visit, or an important event in your life, a person who influenced you, or an activity that you enjoy. This question will always ask you to both describe something like an influential person, a favorite activity, or important event. After you are presented with the question, you will have 15 seconds to prepare an answer. You may want to jot down a few brief notes about what you want to say, but you should not write down a complete answer. There is not enough time for this, and the raters want to see what you can come up with. You should only be using the notes as a guide or a little bit of help. You should not rely on them the entire time. If you want to practice, you can make a list of familiar topics and practice speaking about them. You may want to begin by describing a familiar place or recounting a personal experience, but try to avoid presenting long lists. This will reduce the amount of time that you have available to elaborate on the rest of your answer. So let's take a look at an example. Here's the format. You will be told when to begin to prepare your response and when to speak. The question will be read, and then a preparation clock will appear on your screen and begin to count down from 15 seconds. At the end of the 15 seconds, you will hear a short beep. Beep. After the beep, the clock will change and read response time. And then, again, it will begin to count down from 45 seconds. When the response time has ended, the recording will stop and a new screen will appear alerting you that the response time is ended. Remember, don't memorize your responses. Don't memorize. This will lower your score. Raters can easily recognize memorized responses by intonation, rhythm, and even content will be different than a spontaneous response. So take a look at the screen. Here's one example. Choose a teacher you admire and explain why you admire him or her. Please include specific examples and details in your explanation. So this is a possible topic that you could see on the first independent writing task.